Hi, my name is Jerry Chase, and this is my Chase truck. Chase trucks were made in Syracuse, New York. We think this is a 1909. We're not too sure, and they weren't too clear back when they made trucks from year to year. But we do know that the motor in this is 1909. The trucks came mostly with two-cycle engines, either 3 cylinders or 2 cylinders, and they were mostly air-cooled. This was done by a huge flywheel on the back that was shaped like a fan, and it in turn sucked the air through and out the back, cooling the engine. However, in the literature that we found, that you could get this truck with a different engine in it. But they advertised, why would you want to do that when Chase offered you a 3-cylinder or a 6-cylinder motor for the price of 3? It would go 12 to 15 miles an hour and no faster, and do the work 2 horses all day long. I've worked about 15 years, and prior to that it was in storage for many, many years. My knowledge is that it was a dairy farm truck in the state of Connecticut, and when on inspection, close in the back, you can still see the worn ring marks in the wood in the back where the big milk cans stayed. They were fairly popular, and Chase was made from, we think, 1906 to about 1913 or 14. Could have been a little bit later. They were all water cooled on the later years. Mr. Chase got inducted into the military for World War I, and that was basically the end of the Chase truck as we know it. Prior to that, they were heavy into farm implements. We'll take a peek here at the engine and compartment, and they were held on straps. Unfortunately, on the Chase trucks, you would have to take this side lamp off to look at the engine. The side lamp was a very important part of trucks in the days because they offered the only light. This is kerosene, and you could take the light off. You had a handle to carry the light around and do your thing. On the back would be a clip. You could clip it almost anywhere and have it, you know, as a source of light. So they were kind of unique. Just put that down, and we'll kind of open the hood here and give you a show of the engine. It's a 4-cylinder, and it's magneto ignition, and it's about 20 horsepower. Down on the back there, if you come up here and look, you can see the big fan blades, and that would be on the air-cooled model. It would suck the air through here, and the air-cooled model had fins on the cylinders as opposed to this one, which is water-cooled. But most of the Chase trucks were, in fact, air-cooled. The body is wood. Even most of the frame is wood. And as you get into it, you can see the intricate spring structure of this truck. Quite ornate. This is probably considered a 3/4 ton truck, and it's called a jack shaft with chain drive to the rear wheels. There's no differential in the back. It's got a planetary transmission, which means there's a low, high, and reverse, and that's all. Low speed, high speed, and reverse. Those pedals are up here and work like this. When you wanted to go backwards, you would push on the pedal and hold it, and as long as you held it, you would roll backwards. If you let it go, you stop. When you were in low gear, you pushed it and held it, as you would go forward until you let it go. If you let it go, it would stop. However, if you went on this one and held it, and then let it go and took this big lever and throw it forward, you would go into high gear. And that's all it was. 2 speeds, closest to automatic as you could get in the day. And this is your brake. You have two levers up here. One is spark, advance and retard, and the other is throttle. You'll notice there is no gas pedal. All the gas or throttle was done by this up here. They were wooden steering wheels. In the back here, this was considered a delivery type wagon, and this is original, and this is how they were made. And like I said, this was a milk truck. This happens to be Lab Fred and Gear Works, is my company, and we do a lot of gear work, and consequently that makes me so much interested in the trucks and the cars that we try to preserve, and there's a lot of them with gear problems, so it comes in handy to have a gear company. Now if you can get down here with the camera and look underneath, you can see the unique spring system that's under here. Transverse and forward rocking springs. These springs are hooked from one spring to another, and it's what makes me love this truck so much. I've never seen a spring system like this, yet it would take well over 1,000 pounds. These big bands that you see next to the chains are the brakes. Be honest, you don't use the brakes too much because 13 miles an hour doesn't do much. Here's your running light back here. Good old-fashioned light, kerosene, and that's what they used. This is one step up from the horse and buggy. You'll also see in the center of the axle, up on top, is a helper spring. You can see, if you look closely, that doesn't come into function until you get so much of a load on a car. Similar to what helper springs are today, except it's in the transverse position. Pretty unique. They were onto something, and it worked well. A lot of your industrial vehicles carried their own oil, gas, and water. And that's what these tanks are. A little screw here, you would loosen it up. You'll notice also that it would lock. There's a lock there. You didn't want anybody stealing your gas, oil, or anything else. Take your can out. That would be your oil. White is water, and red is gas. So you always carried your own. You got to remember, back in 1909, there were no gas stations to speak of. There was, you would go to drugstores to get gasoline. It was considered a cleaning fluid, and that's how you would get your gas. So you kind of had to take care of yourself and have your fuel, oil, and with you so you didn't get stuck. You'll notice the wheels seem huge on the trucks, and they were big for a reason, because that allowed a truck to go over almost any terrain. Remember, no paved roads, only in the cities where they had cobblestone. But once you got off the city streets, they were dirt ruts, and a big wheel like this would handle it. You'll notice also that there's no tubes in the tires. These are hard rubber tires, and lots of spokes, heavy duty. These are twice as many spokes as a car of the same period. The rear wheel is even bigger, being the drive wheel, and you'll notice that the rubber tread is even wider. These are the original tires on this truck, and as you can see on the back, they're worn down to where we're going to need a replacement pretty soon. We would probably have to go to the Amish people who build the buggies to have these re-rubbered. What they do is they put a wire inside the rubber, and they compress it, and they put it on, and then they cut the wire, and the rubber goes together and stays on the wheel. Quite a process. Okay, we're running now, and you'll notice there's these little brass things up here. These are called priming cups. when it was cold or an ordinary engine, you could put a shot of gasoline in these little cups, and you would open them up. You're going to hear them hiss. And that would let the gas run into the cylinder. They have to be closed. You can see if I open them, they'll try and kill the motor. This is a magneto, and it's just that. Once this turns over, it causes a spark. It has to be timed to the engine naturally. Here's your carburetor. On the flywheel, if you look down there, you'll see a little eccentric going around. Okay? That rod goes to the oil pump, and that oil pump sends a squirt of oil to different parts of the engine. So there you have it, folks. My 1909 Chase Express Delivery Wagon. Fun truck, and I enjoy it, especially when we can put a load in the back and get back in time. That's it from us.